Hello and welcome to Generation Me. This is me, Tshering Wangchuk. Today I have with me a young writer. She is Pema Euden, and she recently published her second book titled Lomba. Let's find out more about the book Lumba and also about author Pema Euden. Welcome to the program. Anyway, Pema, thank you very much for coming. And before we talk more about your book, if you could tell me more about yourself.
Hi, my name is Pema Euden. I'm 19 years old. I'm currently studying mathematics at the University of Texas at El Paso.
All right, thank you very much. You know what, Pema, tell us more about your book, Lomba.
So, Lomba is the name of the New Year celebrated by the people of Ha and Paro. And there's this myth that we have that if people don't eat dinner on Lomba night, then they're carried away to a strange land by strange creatures. And the book is based on that myth. It's about a girl who is actually carried away to another realm, and I imagined it's based on imagination like the other realm, and it's also about friendship, betrayal, finding yourself, and about not taking things in granted, and how good always prevails over evil.
Anyway, Pema, tell me, why did you decide to write a book about Lomba?
I remember that one night it was Lomba and I didn't eat dinner, and I remember having a dream that night that I was carried to a strange land. So this book is based on that dream. I was, I think, talking to my sister about that dream a few years ago, and we were saying that it might be a good idea for a book. So that's what got us into the book.
So besides this, if you could talk about any other inspiration, what's your inspiration?
I think my inspiration would have to be my grandmother. She passed away 2 years ago, but she's the one who practically raised me and my siblings, and she used to encourage me to read and write a lot, even though she couldn't read English herself. But she used to take me to the library and used to stay up late when I was writing, and that encouraged me a lot.
You know what, Pema, your first book, Coming Home, was published in 2008. I think you were in school. And now you have published your second book, Lomba. How do you feel, publishing two books at such a young age?
I feel very proud, but I'd have to say that this wasn't done single-handedly. I had a lot of support from my family and friends, and I'm glad to have made them proud. And also, people who read my first book, they wanted me to write another one, and that encouraged me a lot too.
What kind of support is needed or necessary to write a book, especially for young people like you?
I think we need to encourage, like maybe the parents or the teacher need to encourage the kids. If they write something good, maybe tell them it's good. Like my teacher, Mr. Noel in Sunshine School, he used to do. If a story was good, he used to read it out loud to this class, so that made us that encouraged us more. So the support that we need is from family and friends, and also teachers. Like in school, like Mr. Noel in Sunshine School used to do, he would read out stories that were good out loud to class, so that would encourage us more to write. And also, I think we need a little bit of constructive criticism. If someone does something wrong, then the teacher or the parent needs to tell them so they can become better.
Well, all right. We briefly talk about your second book, Lumba, and if you could also briefly talk about your first book, which was published in 2008 when you were in school.
The first book is basically about a girl who's an introvert. She's trying to find herself, trying to find friends, and as the story unfolds, she realizes what is the true meaning of life, and that's basically coming home.
That sounds really interesting. So how do you feel, especially young people reading your first book, Coming Home, will help them?
I think when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of books that could relate personally to a Bhutanese teenager. So that book can kind of relate to how we feel like when we're a teenager, how it is in a Bhutanese school. So I think maybe the readers might have enjoyed that, so they could relate to it.
Anyway, seriously, Pema, when did you start to write?
I think I started writing very young, maybe around the first or second grade. I used to write short stories, articles, poems, and then that got me interested into writing a whole book.
How old were you when you published your first book in 2008? If you could tell me more about it.
I was in Lungtan Sampa Middle Secondary School, and I was in the 7th grade. I was 12 years old.
Well, how did you feel back then, when your book was published when you were 12?
It got a lot of attention because I was so young, and I used to like attention, so that was pretty fun, a fun phase for me. But after that, getting a little bit older, I didn't like the attention that much, and I wished maybe I could have written it under some other name, because I think it got a lot of expectations from people, and I was scared that I wouldn't be able to live up to it.
So besides this, do you have any more reasons for, not enjoying the attention you got?
I don't know, it was a little bit embarrassing, to be honest, getting all the attention.
Okay. All right, anyway, so you started writing short stories when you were in second grade or first grade, and then later when you reached Lunten Zampa, when you were 12, you published your first book, and now you are in college, and your second book is already published. So do you plan to write one more book before you graduate?
I don't think so, because a book requires a lot of time. I've been writing this Lomba since I was in high school, and I could have only published it right now. So, and also I need to spend a lot of time on my studies.
Okay.
So maybe after graduation I might, but not right now.
Okay. Not right now. Anyway, I wanted to ask you about some of the difficulties or problems that you faced while writing, your books, both the books.
Writing in general is very hard. It requires a lot of patience, hard work, and also I think all writers face the writer's block. Not being able to write anything, not find the right words, or even if you had the time to write, and finding the time to write is a really big problem too, because I mean, between my two books, there's a big gap because I was trying to concentrate on my studies, and in college, I also have to concentrate on my major, which is mathematics. And another challenge in Bhutan, particularly, would be financially, it's very hard. To be able to publish your own book, you would have to have the money. And since a lot of Bhutanese people don't read, and also we have a small population.
Let's talk about, making a living out of writing. Tell me more about it, Do you think one can make a living from writing a book?
In Bhutan, I think you'd have to be a very, very good writer to make a living. And I personally don't consider myself a great one. So for me, I don't think I can become a full-time writer, because as you know, as I said earlier, Bhutan has a very small population, and maybe not even half of them have the habit of reading. So it's pretty hard. And also not just that, but writing full-time would be a lot of pressure, and I do not do well under pressure, so I don't think I could ever become a full-time writer.
Well, as one of the young writers, what do you feel about the reading habit of Bhutanese? As you mentioned, not many Bhutanese read. As one of the young writers, Why do you think so?
Maybe reading. I think that once a person gets into reading, then it will become a habit. But especially kids right now, there are a lot of TV shows, social network. You can get the news online rather than reading, and you can watch the movies rather than read the books. So it seems like an easier and more entertaining way than to read.
So, as a young reader and also as one of the young writers, how do you feel you can inspire or encourage the Bhutanese youth to read more?
I think the school should make kids read, like maybe introduce like a reading class where they have to read, or maybe put up competitions like a reading competition, or have book reviews, or even in primary schools, like the teacher could read to students.
All right. Since you also mentioned about the balancing time between your studies and writing a book. Well, let's talk more about it. Well, this is your second book. If you could tell us how do you balance your time between your studies and writing?
Honestly, it's very hard because I had the idea of the book when I finished my 11th grade, and then I started writing it during the winter break. But and then I was in my 12th grade, so that in Bhutan, that's the hardest part of school life. So I had to study, and I couldn't continue it then, and I resumed it after my 12th, before college. And even in college it's really hard because of school, and also you can't maintain a social life if you sit in your room and write all the time. So I think I did it mostly during the breaks, so it's very hard to manage time.
All right. What do you think are some of the qualities needed, especially for young people, to become a writer?
You need a lot of hard work because writing is a lot of work, and also patience. You need to be able to sit down and write even though you don't feel like it. You need to be able to not give up. You need to stay motivated.
Okay, staying motivated. What keeps you going? What motivates you to write?
I think the first book, it was more of like hobby, a fun thing. And during the second one, I kind of sort of wanted to give up in the middle because of, as I said, it was hard managing time. But there were people, I'd meet them like on the way, and they'd be like, well, I want to read your book, I want to read another book of yours. So that's what motivated me, because I wanted the people who appreciated my first book, I wanted them to be able to read another one. And also, I think I'd have to say that the criticism that I got to helped to motivate me, because there were people who said that maybe I didn't write Coming Home. Maybe it was just my parents who wrote it and then put my name on it. So I wanted to show them that that wasn't true. So that motivated me too.
Okay. That's really encouraging. Very nice. You took even the criticisms as you took it very positively. And anyway, congratulations. Now you have published your second book.
Thank you.
Well, right now I'm talking with Pema Euden. She is the writer, and recently she published her second book titled Lomba, and her first book was published in 2008 when she was in Lumba school. She was only 12 years. Well, Pema, let's talk more about your recent book, Lumba. Although, I mean, we discussed a little bit about your second book, Lumba. Well, if you could tell me, what are some of the things, especially that the young readers can learn from your book?
As I said before, it's about two different realms, and it's like an adventure. It's imaginative, so I think people can imagine things in their head when they're reading it. It builds your imagination, and also it teaches us about friendship and about loyalty, about not giving up, and about it's about a girl who in the end she finds herself. So as a teenager, we're always trying to identify who we are. So I think that can be relatable to the readers and also might help them through whatever they're going through.
Okay. What is the first thing that one should do to be a writer? Especially young people should do to be a writer.
I think if you have an idea, jot it down and you can play on it and then continue it when you have the time. And reading and writing simultaneously could help a lot too. I think I used to read more when I was in school and had the time, but in college it's harder to find the time to read.
So did reading a lot of book help you write this two books?
Yes, because the first time I wanted to write because I read so many books and I wanted to be able to produce something like that. And also, reading gives you a lot of ideas. And I think to be a good writer, you need to be able to read and understand how other writers are doing, have their own ways, and how we can help use that to improve ourselves.
All right. Well, if you could, talk about some of the tips for writing a book or writing a short story, anything.
The main one would basically be to have a good idea. Just in your head, maybe you could have an idea, and then for a book, I think it's better to have the whole thing in your head first, like how it should start, how it should end, so that you would have an idea on where to go with it. So a tip would be to have the whole story in your head first. Especially for a book, you should have the beginning, maybe how it should end in your head. So as you go about writing, you know where it's going. And you don't have to. I think the best way is whenever you have an idea, jot it down. You don't have to have the perfect grammar. You can work on it later. I guess that's it.
That was really wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing your ideas, and I'm sure, especially young listeners, who inspires, who dreams to write a book, I'm sure it will be really helpful to them. Well, all right, Pema, let's now talk about some of the opportunities of being a writer, especially being a young writer in Bhutan.
People think that Bhutan is like, it's a lot harder to get something done in Bhutan. But I think that if you have a dream, whether it's writing or whether it's, to become an actor or whatever, I think there are a lot of opportunities in Bhutan because if you have the money, you are able to publish your own book without having to, get it screened or having to, might have to get it rejected, because even books like Harry Potter, which are a global phenomenon right now, had been rejected several times. But here in Bhutan, we have the opportunity of being able to publish whatever we want. I'm not saying that because of that we should produce low quality stories or make low quality films. It's something that we should take advantage of and make something perfect, and then to be able to showcase it to the audience. And also the government gives us a lot of free things that we take for granted, like free education, and even for me, free college education, because if I had to worry about my tuition or money or how I would eat or anything like that, then I wouldn't have been able to complete the book.
Well, that was Pema Euden, one of course, the youngest writer. She recently published her second book titled Lomba, and let me repeat again, she published her first book titled Coming Home in 2008 when she was just 12 years. Well, anyway, Pema, thank you very much for being on Generation Me, and congratulations on publishing your second book.
Thank you, and thank you for having me and for the support and motivation from here.
All right, then, thank you so much for being with Generation Me. This is Tshering Wangchuk signing off for the program, and I hope you had a great time listening to the youngest author, Pema Euden. Thank you so much for being with Generation Me.